Forever. Dog.
Joe, I swear to God, every week, every damn week, there is a new rumor about this new Christopher Nolan movie. Every single week they got a new rumor about this thing. At first they were saying it's going to be a remake of The Prisoner, that TV show The Prisoner that everyone loves, because that's in-house IP for Universal, his new studio home. And then later it's like, no, he's not doing the Prisoner. He's not doing The Prisoner. Then they say it's going to be horror, sci-fi. It's going to be some sci-fi horror thing. Apparently not. Apparently that's not true. Now they're saying the latest rumor. And who are these leakers? Who are these unreliable leakers over at Universal?
Nolan.
Might be Nolan himself.
Nolan himself.
He's up there playing a little game with all of us.
He's
playing a little game. Well, he's winning because now they're saying it's espionage.
Okay.
But that just feels like a default answer because, he's done. He's
everything he does is
Inception,
espionage.
Tenet, everything is not
He just
historical.
makes-
Even Oppenheimer was sort of espionage.
He just keeps making James Bond movies over and over again. He said that that's what he does. That is kind of what he does.
Yeah.
Espionage movie. Sounds
I'm
great.
down.
Just like all his
I'm
other
down.
movies. Perfect.
So bottom line, we don't really know anything about this movie except for, here's what we do know.
I'll be seeing it.
We'll be seeing it.
Yes.
It's gonna star Matt Damon. They must have hit it off on Oppenheimer. It's gonna star Matt Damon. Meanwhile, Killian's like, you forgot about me already? I won the frickin' Oscar, baby.
no.
Killian will be in it.
Killian's going to be
in it.
Voldemort in the new HBO Harry Potter series,
Really?
they say.
Well, congratulations. I don't think you're allowed to say that name.
Oh, sorry.
It stars Matt Damon. It's going to start shooting in early 2025, and it's scheduled for release on July 17th, 2026. Circle your calendars
It's
now.
forever.
Beyond that, though, it's anybody's guess. I mean, we do know he's alternating between historical and genre, Dunkirk, Tenet, Oppenheimer.
Tenet 2.
So he's back to genre, maybe Tenet 2. I
He
know
just
you would love
oscillates
that.
between history and a Tenet.
We did get some other Nolan news though this week that was very interesting and pretty funny, which is that we got a little more detail about his fallout with Warner Brothers. Because remember, he was at Warner Brothers forever, going back to freaking Insomnia. Before the Batmans, he was at Warner Brothers.
Forever.
His home forever. But then COVID hit, and Tenet was supposed to come out in theaters. They had to, obviously they had to push that back, but Nolan wanted Tenet to be like the movie that relaunched theaters. Like, when we're ready, I want Tenet to be the one that relaunches theaters. And honestly, I mean, great. I know.
Good idea.
This is your gospel.
He's right.
Yes, he's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you going to tell a story where I'm supposed to disagree with him at any point?
Not at all.
Okay,
Not
good,
at all.
good. All right, good.
Nolan is going to be the winner of this story, and Warner
good.
Brothers is going to be the loser per usual. But so they agreed to move forward with a theatrical release of Tenet as long as Nolan gave up certain fees he would normally get. I guess because of COVID, they knew they were not going to make the box office dollars that a Nolan movie would normally make, and so they asked him to sort of redo his contract and give up certain fees. And I think he got a little miffed about that. But what he really got miffed about was frickin' Project Popcorn, which is David Zaslav and after Warner Brothers and Discovery merged and they became that big conglomerate. Zaslav came up with this brilliant idea, Project Popcorn, where they're going to dump all of their theatrical releases on Max, on streaming.
Bad idea for the culture, for the heart, and
Yes.
for maybe that company. But
And
that's Netflix's model.
And for the pocketbook, though, for Warner Brothers, because
Yes.
it killed their relationship with
Right.
with Christopher Nolan. So basically, they fucked up the theatrical release of Tenet, and then they dumped it on streaming. He didn't get his big theatrical release for Tenet, and so that destroyed that long relationship he had with Warner Brothers. This guy doesn't forgive. You fuck Christopher Nolan, you're out. You're done, baby. Because he took his next movie, Oppenheimer, to Universal, won every Oscar, made $1 billion. And now it looks like he's staying over at Universal. Why wouldn't he? Warner Brothers, and this is the new news that came out this week. Warner Brothers apparently wrote him as a way of luring him back after Oppenheimer. They said, come back, baby. Come on. We can make this right. They wrote him a 7-figure check, which was all the Tenet fees that he had waived. They were like, all right, we'll give you the Tenet fees that you waived.
Too little,
7-figure check. Nolan took the check, put it in his own bank account, said, thank you very much. I'm going to stay with Universal if you don't mind.
Damn.
Warner Brothers cannot stop taking L's, Joe. Joker Folie à Deux bombed. They give Christopher Nolan $7 million for nothing, for no reason. They don't even get anything out of it. What's
Well-
going on over there in Burbank? Why can't they get their act together?
They just have so much debt. They have debt up to their head, and their ownership and leadership seems a little scattered. That's what it seems like to my insider knowledge. They
Well-
let the NBA go off of TNT, which is like the only
Crazy.
thing valuable in linear television. And they experienced some early success in the year at the box office with pictures like Dune 2 and then like good stuff like Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice was a
But
surprise.
this back end of the year is becoming the nightmare, Brett. They lost
Really?
$200 million
Truly?
on Joker Folie à Deux. They're not getting Nolan back. They get Todd Phillips back, not for a Joker movie, for whatever nonsense he wants to do next.
Oh boy.
I guess if they all want to work together again, but I don't know. What properties do they have? Like they have the Harry Potter. And they're doing HBO big TV with that.
The James Gunn DC universe will
Okay.
be, I think that's what it'll
They
all come
have
down
that.
to. That's what it'll really all come down
That's
to.
what it'll
is,
be.
Is we got a first
Yeah.
promotional photo from this James Gunn Superman. It's nothing. I mean, it's a cute little photo of
Yeah.
Superman and his dog staring at the earth,
Mhm.
and it looks like maybe he's going back to Christopher Reeve's Superman's. Like it has a little more
Optimism?
Yes, there's sort of like a just light and airy, sort of fun family kind of vibe to the photo that makes me think maybe he'll go back to the original vibe of the Christopher Reeve Supermans. Which look, those are some of the best superhero movies of all time. So we'll see. But I think Warner Brothers' fate really now is depending big time on this James Gunn facelift of DC and whether or not that goes through, and specifically this Superman movie.
We're not talking about this right now, and I'm not the comic book expert, but I think that James Gunn is actually going to really succeed in running DC based on his track record of, excellence in comic book movies. And it seems like if anybody was going to get the job, it seems like DC bet on the right horse. I don't care about Superman movies, but I watch them all and I hope they're all great. And this one, and James Gunn, I like his superhero movies, even the bad ones. So yeah, I like his movies. They're bad and
He's
fine.
He's good at the
he
genre.
made Guardians of the Galaxy.
He's good at the genre,
which is a great movie.
Yes. Yeah.
And then his other stuff's all the funnest of the other stuff.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It seems to be, pretty much the best of the bunch.
That's what
So
that's what I think.
look, best of luck. I don't wish ill to anybody. I want the best for the movies. But it really is. There's a lot riding on Mr. Gunn these days. And there's a lot riding on Movies Baby as well these days, because this week on Movies Baby, there's a new killer clown in town, baby, and this one is a work of art.
Oh, look at
Art
you.
the Clown. We're reviewing Damien Leone's
Wow.
Terrifier 3. We also saw the young Trump biopic, The Apprentice. And of course, we've got the box office updates of your dreams and the hottest Hollywood headlines of the week. Joe, are you ready?
Oh yeah.
Well, Carson, roll that theme song. There it is. There it is. Oh, yes.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
yes. I can't get enough. I can't get enough movies, baby. I can't get enough movies, baby. But how about you? Do you have it bad too? I know that you do. Whenever one ends, it's like the death of a friend. I get to wishing that there were 2 more reels. And then a voice cries out, "Move, baby, you're in my seat and you don't want to mess with who the Philly movie freak." There he is.
I can't get enough movies, baby. I can't get enough movies, baby. Yes, it's true. Folks, I've got it bad too.
He's got it bad.
Every night of the year, like the moon, I appear at all the movie theaters all over town.
Even the Sherman Oaks
Cut
one.
to black, roll credits.
Whoa, baby.
I'm lost in a fog. I need someone to talk to.
Hi.
Look, the Georgia movie dog. The Georgia movie dog.
I can't get enough movies, baby.
I can't get enough movies,
I
baby.
can't get enough movies, baby.
Welcome to Movies, Baby, the weekly show where we break down the hottest movie news, review the latest releases, shout out forgotten classics, and prophesy the future of Hollywood. My name is Joe Cilio, a.k.a. the Philly Movie Freak, here as always with Brett Boehm, or maybe as you know him, the Georgia Movie Dog.
Go Dogs! Joe, sometimes, most of the time, in fact, we look at the weekly box office returns and we say, what the hell is this stinking world coming to? What the hell is wrong with everyone? But then, every once in a while, you look at the weekly box office returns and you say, hell yeah, baby. We are back. We are so back. This old carcass still has some blood in it, still has some life in it. This old dying carcass of human civilization. We still got something to say. We still got taste. Because against all odds, Joe, Terrifier 3, as we predicted, was the #1 movie at the box office this weekend, earning $18.9 million domestic against a $2 million production budget. Wow, wow, wow. Congrats to Damien Leone and the Terrifier cast and crew. Congrats to Cineverse, the distributor. Congrats. Oh my God. Well, this is unexpected. This is unplanned. We don't normally have celebrity drop-ins on Movies, baby, but out of thin air has appeared a celebrity drop-in. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the box office king himself, Art the Clown. Art the Clown, wow, this is amazing. Art the Clown. I don't know what happened to Joe. We'll get to that later, though, because Art, this is so exciting. I'm so excited to be sitting across from you. I'm a huge fan. I think you are truly the latest. I think you've made it into the horror icon pantheon. I think you're up there with Freddy, with Pinhead, with Jason, with Leatherface. I think Art the Clown deserves a spot in the pantheon. And wow, you're flashing some dollars there, flashing some money. Wow. So because yeah, you really struck it rich with Terrifier 3. You really are rolling in it right now. This is wow. Oh, wow, you just handed out money. These are hundreds. These are freaking hundreds. Art, this is amazing. Art's just handing out hundreds. He's made so much money at the box office. He's just spraying hundreds. This is really cool. Art, I don't really have any questions prepped for you. I guess, this is an industry show. You know, all the studio bigwigs watch right now. You know, Zaslav, Iger, they're all watching this show. As a new box office king on the block, do you have a message for Hollywood? Anything you want to say to the industry? Anything you want to say to the big studios? Art? Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! That's the Joker's, Joaquin Phoenix is the Joker's head. Art has, and I can't tell if that's that's a real head. That's real blood, real guts. So this is, you took down Joker at the box office this week. You stomped Joker down all the way to 3rd place. And then apparently you ripped off Joker's head. And now is you have the head in your lap, just adding insult to injury. Oh, Art loves it. Bawdy little Art loves it. So is this some kind of message of intimidation to the industry? Are you saying, look out? There's more where this came from. You just drop the head on the table. All right, well, look out, Hollywood, because Art is here and he ain't going nowhere. He crashed the party. He ruined the Joker Folie à Deux party in week 2, which was already a pretty stinky party to begin with. Now he's licking hundreds. He's smelling them or something. He's rubbing them all over his lips. Wow, Art's having a blast. Good time to be Art the Clown, I guess. And he's doing double birds. Now he's saying goodbye. He's sort of saying goodbye in a fun little way. Peace signs from Art. Art's in a good mood. I guess that's the only reason I'm still alive. TBD on whether or not Joe is still alive. Yeah, there's Joker's head again. That's grotesque. Well, ooh, gross. Yeah, we're seeing the back there. Really getting a look at all the guts, all the gore. Wow. Now Art is sort of smelling the stump of the head. Joker is filleting Art now, apparently. Well, speaking of the box office, Carson, can we get a look? Show me the dang money. Let's get a look at these numbers. And thank you to Art the Clown for joining us. Thank you to Art the Clown for joining us here on Movies, Baby. What a surprise. What a shock. And let's get a look at those numbers. There we go. Okay. Like we said, #1 with a bullet. And I do want to really appreciate this. This is incredible because as we'll discuss in our reviews of Terrifier 3, it's not like the Terrifier franchise got some big infusion of cash. They made this thing for $2 million plus a $1 million marketing budget,
Apparently it was $500K out of pocket.
500K out of wow. And welcome back, Joe, by the way.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry to say you missed Art the Clown was here.
What?
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
From Terrifier? That's scary. I'm glad I wasn't here.
We'll have to dig into this later. You might be Art the Clown. That's the only way. You might be. There was. I don't know if it was like a body switching or it was like your true identity coming out, but I know of no other way to, because I didn't see you leave or come back in. There might be some sort of multi-dimensional thing going on where you are in fact Art the Clown, which is really, that's good news for you, honestly. That's exciting.
No comment.
Well, speaking of Art the Clown, so Terrifier 3 brought in $18.9 million at the box office. And it's just a Terrifier movie. There's no it's just word of mouth, good horror marketing to a horror audience. Just solid horror filmmaking, you know. I mean, they do it all old school. They do it all for real. And look what happened. They're freaking #1 at the box office, Joe. Can you believe this?
No, it's an incredible story. And I really looked into what happened here because, yes, they engaged that super, engaged horror audience. But Cineverse did a lot of things correctly with this release beyond just tapping into that horror audience. To start, Cineverse is it's a small company, but larger than our company. They have 80 million monthly subscribers across their 30 different streaming
Screambox,
platforms.
Bloody Disgusting, etc.
And their recent acquisition of Screambox, they bought Screambox, which is a horror streamer, and they bought Bloody Disgusting, which is like a pop culture website, fan site with a huge reach, and they bought new media and internet properties like that. And they did targeted marketing to those fans. They did $5 million of organic marketing across their channels. They have about 30 or 40 podcasts. They have a huge podcast network, all true crime, all horror. So what I'm saying is, yes, they paid $500,000, which is nothing. That's not TV spot money. That money goes to, having Art the Clowns walk around New York. It goes to having an integration with Call of Duty or whatever, really creative stuff. But 500K is a pittance, but $5 million we can probably attribute to their organic marketing on their channels. This is, it's not revolutionary. All big streamers or all big companies, can put out advertising on their streamers, right? But this one is notable because it's an unrated film that did tremendous numbers on 2,500 screens, with basically no marketing money and that $2 million budget, no stars, no nothing. It completely kind of upends the Hollywood equation, even though the execs at Cineverse are talented Hollywood producers doing this really savvily.
They're just working with significantly less money and resources than a Warner Brothers or a Universal.
And they're making the other ones look like fools. But Cineverse is like a really smart company. They have ad tech properties. They are already in the AI game with Google about streaming discoverability. They're on the NASDAQ. This isn't this isn't just a bunch of kids playing around in a sandbox, but this is different for them. They don't put movies out theatrical. And the story here is theatrical distribution. Because Brett, there was a really interesting article I read this week, and it suggested that you can put movies out on streaming. There's this huge conversation going on around streaming and theatrical distribution. Greta Gerwig is really in a big fight with Netflix right now because she wants her Chronicles of Narnia movies to have theatrical distribution, and that's not part of Netflix's model. That model is going to disincentivize large talent wanting to work with Netflix, because even though the dollar amount is incredible, the cultural clout comes from theatrical release.
Well, we just said it's what ran Christopher Nolan out of Warner Brothers. Was they fucked up the theatrical versus streaming kind of release
it's
strategy.
Not an analytic that you can get on the back end of Google AdSense, but cultural relevance still comes from theatrical distribution, which is why these artists and creators are loath to end up at Netflix. Like Linklater's Hitman ended up at Netflix because they gave him 2.5 times the money than the theatrical release. Greta Gerwig's mad about it. People don't want to be in that system, but they have the money and they have the money so they can get the content. Other people doing theatrical distribution, your Universals, your Warner Brothers, they've seen better days and they have less creativity when it's coming to market to put out good movies. So we're going to rely more on companies like Cineverse hyper targeting niche audiences like we've been talking
Yep.
about all year,
Yep.
and then exploiting
Look what
the
it does.
cultural
Yep.
relevance of theatrical distribution to be a great moneymaker. They're going to make 500 Terrifier movies, merchandising, everything, and then all of the trickle down
Yep.
economic all the trickle down
Factors, yeah.
good stuff to all
Yeah.
the other stuff on their streamers and
Yes,
Streambox
exactly.
and all that. So
But,
anyway, that's
I mean,
a big,
the lesson
long
here
spiel
then.
about-
The lesson here then is don't try to be something that you're not.
Mhm.
Know your audience and don't try to be something that you're not. Because Terrifier 3 was like, we're a horror movie.
Mhm.
We are a horror splatter, gore, old school Tom Savini effects horror movie.
Mhm.
So let's be a horror movie. Let's stick to our guns. Let's not sell out. Let's stay scrappy and indie and gory, and then
Yes.
let's market it to horror fans. I also think something clever they did. I think the Christmas movie angle
Yeah.
worked gangbusters. I think
Right.
it was. I think because what it did, I think, was it just gave a really fun genre framework for Leone to sort of play around with and fuck around with in the movie itself. But then I think it also created a really nice entry point for new viewers who hadn't seen Terrifier 1 or 2 or were new or who just became aware of Art the Clown through Halloween costumes or something. It's like, what's going on here? The Christmas movie structure is such an easy entry point where it's like, oh, it's just a Christmas movie with a slasher. I don't need to know anything. I don't need, I'm not worried about lore or missing this or that. I can just come in on this fresh.
Yeah.
And it created such great marketing. I mean, those posters with him like cutting off Santa's face and wearing it as a bib and all this crazy shit. It's just so visually striking and interesting, and it just is an immediate message. It's an immediate, clear message of what the movie is.
And the message you're exactly right in isolating that as such a good marketing idea, because one of the goals with Terrifier 3 and the reason it launched to 18.5 million weekend and 21.5 long weekend is because oh my god, that's never happened to me before on the podcast.
It has happened before. It actually has happened before.
Really?
Yeah, once or twice. It happened to me too.
The Christmas angle. Well,
Yes, the
because
Christmas
they had
angle.
for Terrifier 2, they had the gore heads and they had the cult following and they had the PR, and it got $11 million at the box office, and that's amazing and impressive.
Yeah.
But what they did was they said, we have the gore audience on lock.
Yes,
We're going to
yes.
remind the audience that art is funny.
Yeah, exactly.
So that
exactly.
Girlfriends and boyfriends are like the hangers-ons or the family members going to come, because what they really tried to push this time was, and with the Christmas as the perfect sort of juxtaposition, is art's really funny too.
Yeah. It was an incredible high wire act of not alienating the hardcore gore heads and the hardcore horror fans, while also sending signals like, it's not so, you can do
It's
this.
funny.
You can do this.
Right.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. You
Right.
can come in.
It's
You can
fun.
do this. You'll be fine. Yeah. With the Christmas angle. It was just a genius marketing campaign, and it paid off big time. And not only did, Joker Folia do drop out of the top spot, which had a $200 million budget, by the way. Not only did Joker Folia do drop out of the top spot after only a week, it didn't even earn the second spot this week, Joe. Nobody saw this
Well,
coming.
except
Nobody
you.
saw this coming.
Because you were like, what if it has a 80% drop? And I was like, in
Exactly.
my head, like, no.
Because the biggest drop ever for a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, not DC, but a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, was 2023's The Marvels, which had a 78% drop. And so people were like, last week we were like, could it have like a 70 or 80 or even an 80%? It's like, is an 80% drop fathomable? Is that possible? Joe, it had an 81.4% drop in the box office this week and only made $7 million in its second week. Joker Folia Do only made $7 million in its second week. And the reason it dropped down, it dropped down to fourth. It's not even third. It's fucking fourth. It dropped down to fourth. And two movies that saw little bumps. I mean, they still had drops overall, but pretty minor drops relative to how long they've been out. The Wild Robot came in at second, and Beetlejuice came in at third. Now, there is a theory about what's happening here, because it's like, why did these movies have little bumps? The theory is that, and this is old school, I haven't heard about this happening since. Used to hear about this with, like, people say that Will Smith's Wild Wild West in 1999 got a box office boost because kids were buying tickets to Wild Wild West and then going to see the South Park movie. Because the South Park movie, you had to be, they were really strict about in 99 about, if you're under 17, you can't see this fucking cartoon.
Yes, I remember that.
And so kids would buy, and so that's why, because Wild Wild West actually is not as big of a box office bomb as people remember it as. It was a critical flop, but it made some money. But a lot of people say it was because people were buying tickets to South Park. So this is apparently, there's a theory where this happened last week, where Theaters, even though Terrifier 3 is unrated, theaters were being very strict about not letting kids under 17 in to see Terrifier 3. So the theory is that kids were buying tickets to Wild Robot and probably Beetlejuice, and then going to see Terrifier 3.
But not Folie à Deux.
But which is such a it can't win.
But
it
not
can't win for losing. Well, but it's R-rated as well.
Oh, that's
you know. So
that's right,
and I guess Beetlejuice.
No, you're right.
So it's really the Wild Robot that got the benefit. Was, can you imagine buying a ticket for Wild Robot and then slipping into Terrifier 3? If this is true, two things I want to point out about this. Two things. Yeah. And Garson, you can come back to me for this in the wide shot. Two things I want to point out about this. Number one. Last week, I predicted Terrifier 3 would do 20 million opening weekend, right?
You did.
The projections were 11. I said, no, baby, the signs are good. The vibes are good. This thing is doing 20. Officially, it did 18.9. But if this theory is true and you add in the money that Wild Robot stole from Terrifier 3, I think you're looking at least 20. The prophecy was correct. The prophecy that we foretold right here on Movies Baby came true. Terrifier did 20 million if you count in the money that Wild Robot stole.
Well, on Memorial Day, we count the full holiday weekend totals.
Yes.
Why not for Italian American Heritage Day?
Indigenous Peoples Day, yes.
Okay.
Why not?
Sorry.
Why not do that? Yeah, that's a good idea. Well, speaking of that, a quick message to DreamWorks Universal here. Warner Brothers cut Nolan his long overdue check. It didn't do them any good, but it was just and it was right to give him that money that was owed to him.
I guess.
I have a similar message to DreamWorks Universal. DreamWorks Universal, we know you got the money. You're doing great over there. Cut Terrifier a check for $2 million. We'll call it 2. Cut Terrifier 3 and Damien Leone and the production company. Cut him a check for $2 million. You can afford it, and more importantly, it's not your money to begin with. You know that's not your money. There aren't enough good reviews in the world that are going to bump Wild Robot up like that in week 3. It just doesn't happen. It's the Terrifier 3 effect. It might be your money on paper, but it's not in principle. To quote Donald Trump's favorite book, the Bible, render to Roz, that's the Wild Robot's name, render to Roz what is Roz's, and to Art what is Art's. Give Art his fucking money. You don't want to make that guy mad. Otherwise, he's going to show up on City Walk with a fucking chainsaw and go crazy. Pay up. It's only fair, DreamWorks Universal.
That's only fair.
It's only fair.
Can I point out 2 more things I see here on the box office before we move on? Carson, could you see this box office one more time, please, when you get a second? Number 1 is, so Saturday night opened wide finally, right? It finally got, kind of its full 2,300 theaters. It made 3.4 million, which is nice.
Look at that jump, though.
They put it on.
Oh, right. It was only on 5 screens. Yeah. Sorry.
That's not enough for a Best Picture campaign.
No.
That's just like, it has to, for the Oscars, you have to perform somewhat, even remotely okay at the money, or it's like the most culturally thing ever. And this one had to be more of a cultural touchstone, I think, to get that Best Picture push. Number 2, here we go again, Brett. My Hero Academia, You're Next, made $3 million on 1,800 screens.
That's an anime?
That's an anime.
Yeah.
My Hero Academia is a huge anime property. They put these out every single week, folks. There's a religious movie, there's an anime, and there's a re-release. They always do well. You can see number 9 this week, $2.5 million for Walt Disney with a re-release of Nightmare Before Christmas. Just shooting fish in a barrel. This week's going to be the 20th anniversary of Saw. See you there. It's just like never ending with this, Brett. Religious movies.
Average Joe, the new religious movie of the week, came in at number 12. That's from the makers of God Is Not Dead.
Yeah, we got $1.1 million.
They're relentless
there
with those fucking Christian movies. They're relentless.
And then right there, lost in it all is The Apprentice.
That's bad for The Apprentice.
The Apprentice got $1.6 million. What
happened?
On 1.7.
$927 per theater? How's that possible?
$927 per screen. For reference, Terrifier averaged $7,500 per
I had all
screen.
this buzz. It was like the naughty movie about Trump. What happened?
The cease and desist letter from the Trump campaign stunted some of Briarcliff's marketing efforts. Is what you'll have to believe if you listen to Briarcliff.
Got it. What do you think really happened?
Like I kind of, not to do the I kind of predicted, but to do the kind of I predicted, not enough Trump in the marketing for the Trump fans, not enough anti-Trump in the marketing for the anti-Trump fans. I think that Trump didn't attack the movie fast enough. He attacked it after it had already released.
Yeah.
And I also think that people are sick and tired of it's why Joker Folia did bad. We're sick and tired of this nonsense.
Of the vibes.
No,
Yeah.
we're just done with the vibes. And also Terrifier 3 came out this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it didn't do that well in Cannes. The reviews are pretty good. Sebastian Stan and Jeremy Strong are popular, but they don't carry movies. Who does?
Wow, is this going to hurt their Oscar campaigns then? Because if the movie's not making any money, nobody's seeing it?
I wouldn't go that far. The Briarcliff team hopes that this movie has of course, they
Oscars
do.
life.
A trail
second life,
up until the election also, as people saw it.
Yeah.
I saw it actually today, and my theater had a nice audience. Looking around,
There
though,
was nobody at my screen.
I had about a 35% house. And a lot of MSNBC liberal 60-year-olds is sort of who's coming out for this. This movie got a ton of media and marketing, all Jake Tapper on CNN, huge interviews, didn't move the needle. This movie has, too many masters or trying to go in too many different directions from a marketing standpoint. Yeah. The whole acquisition distribution thing was such a mess.
Yeah. It also seems like they didn't really get the marketing together in time. I have a feeling that people just don't even know this movie's out. It just doesn't seem like a movie that people are talking about or know exists.
Which is crazy. In this movie, Trump sexually assaults his first wife. And I'm paraphrasing. It's one of the most impactful moments I can remember.
It's an intense, disturbing scene.
In the Trump,
that comes straight from Ivana Trump's biography.
Exactly. And the reason I mention it so offhandedly is because that's one of the three Trump things we don't even talk about. It's one of the top three.
We can't even get to the real crimes because we're wading through all the bullshit crimes.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is that's controversial.
Yeah, I know.
And it didn't raise any feathers, or they didn't make a meal of the potential controversy or some of the exciting. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Scandalous elements.
Is it possible
in the
to
film.
be icked out by your own material, by your own movie? It almost feels like they were hesitant because they made a movie about something so such a loathsome person who's done so many loathsome things that they almost didn't know how to do the marketing.
I know. It seems like everything seems easy, I guess. But it seems like there's so much there. But
America's lost because I thought The Apprentice was really good. We'll get to that later. Before we get to our movie reviews, though, let's cover some Hollywood news, Joe. What's going on in old movie town this week? I'm getting excited again for Lee Whannell's Wolfman, the Blumhouse movie. Blumhouse, which partners with Universal, is doing their take on the Universal monsters. We've already seen The Invisible Man, also directed by Lee Whannell. We're going
one of our favorite Blumhouses.
Yeah, absolutely. It was I believe, in our top 5, probably, when we did our top 10 rankings. Yeah. And we're going to get A Creature from the Black Lagoon, directed by James Wan.
Nice.
But before that, Lee Whannell's Wolfman, which we had some concerns about because it was supposed to come out this month. It was originally slated for a Halloween 2024 release. I had it on my fantasy draft team. Egg on my face because they immediately pushed it to January, which normally is a great. We should have thought though, because it's normally the graveyard, right? If you come out in January, February, it means the studio has no confidence; they're just dumping it. But Blumhouse, Megan came out in January. Blumhouse has had success with January releases, and horrors can do well in January. They're a nice little, treat after the awards season. Movies come out, and we just got a trailer for it. Recently in the past week or so, we got Julia Garner in this thing, Christopher Abbott. What do you think? What do you think of the trailer? What are you excited about this? You anticipating it?
Totally excited about it. The trailer looked great. I thought, it's a trailer. All the shots look pretty. It has Julia Gardner in it, one of the best actors we have going. She's amazing. And I love a werewolf story, and I love a Lee Whannell. I am not worried. I think they moved it to January for the reason you just said. It's some sort of it's not going to win the Oscar. So it's just let's make a financial decision.
Yes.
I'd be more concerned about that Bong Joon-ho movie, Mickey 19 or 17 or
with
whatever.
Robert Pattinson,
because they bumped that shit to January. And that is an eyebrow-raising move, in my opinion. That thing must be weird and or stink. Yeah. I don't know.
Mickey 17. There's the Warren Beatty Mickey 1. Yeah,
Yeah. Look,
this is Mickey 17 with Robert Pattinson, Bong Joon-ho. Yeah, I mean the guy's won Best Picture with his last movie.
No,
What's
it's like,
going
why
on
isn't
here?
that coming out on Christmas? Like, it has
Yeah.
Robert Pattinson,
Yeah.
who last time I checked was Batman.
Yeah.
And Bong Joon-ho. Parasite was like, the most beloved international picture ever in this country. Everyone saw
My guess from the
Parasite.
trailer, the marketing is Bong did a weird one, which is going to be good for
Bong
us.
did a weird
but
one.
the studio was like, I don't think this is an award season movie. I'm
That's
excited.
interesting.
I'm bummed because I want to see it sooner rather than later, and I wanted to get the full studio apparatus behind it.
Well-
but I'm also excited because it feels like the studio might just not get this one, and it might be one for the real heads. We'll see.
I hope so.
We'll see. But what a pairing, Bong and Pattinson together. I
know.
can't wait. I can't wait.
Pattinson's doing a weird little voice. Seems like a winner to me.
He loves
Seems
It's
like
his
a winner to
contract
me.
now that he gets to do a weird little
I
voice,
love
and
it.
you can't say otherwise. We also heard about Wolfman that it got a rating this week.
Oh.
R, baby, for bloody, violent content, grisly images, and some language. So they're going for it with the Wolfman, and it seems like, with the Invisible Man, they were certainly playing around with sort of themes around Me Too, gaslighting, etc., domestic abuse. I don't know what it is yet, but it feels like in the trailer that there's probably a similar sort of thematic sort of move in the Wolfman, and I don't know quite what it is. If it's like domestic violence or what, but it feels like there's some move around the genre. Which are you skeptical of this, or I thought it was done so well in Invisible Man though. It's like there's a way to do it correctly where you still serve the genre while doing the theme, and the theme just gives it a little extra gravity, a little extra substance.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Cool. Okay. Well, we'll see. And speaking of horror auteurs, if he has earned that name yet, Osgood Perkins, the director of Longlegs, gets a big old eye roll from Joe. Already has a new movie. It's slated for February 21st. The Monkey, based on a Stephen King short story. I'll tell you what, Joe. We just got a full trailer for it, not a teaser, a full trailer for it. We watched it.
Yikes.
Regardless of what this is. This guy is the master of trailers, I think.
Are
this
you
guy,
serious?
I think this is the new trailer king.
What?
This thing? Well, I think
like that trailer?
I thought it was effective. I thought it was effective. It's like it's funny, it's weird, it's violent, it's shocking. I think I'm going to attribute your skepticism to the fact that you have now seen the full process, though, where you saw what Longlegs was as a trailer versus what Longlegs was in the movie. And look, I like Longlegs. The trailer was very deceptive. It's almost like
The trailer was awesome.
You're already selling us another bill of goods, Perkins. We just got done buying the old car that turned out to be a little bit of a lemon. You told us it was the scariest movie since Silence of the Lambs. Now you're already selling us another bill of goods with Monkey? You didn't like this trailer, though.
We need to pump the brake on Osgood Perkins.
Pump the brakes, baby. Pump the brakes.
He makes Longlegs, which I like a lot. And obviously he's talented. But he's fucking James Wan already? Like, the Monkey trailer makes it seem like, Orson Welles has come back and is giving us another one.
Yeah.
It's
We
like
just
the
saw
fanfare.
Longlegs, dude. We know you're like a B horror director.
Also, it's just,
I don't mean B movie like a rating. You're not an A+ horror director yet. At least
give me
yet.
like 2 more Longlegs before I start being like from the mind of the guy that made Longlegs.
It is very much
Give me one more.
It is a from the mind of trailer, which we've already seen.
Give me one more.
They rushed it with Krasinski from the imagination of. Now they're rushing it with Perkins.
Just one.
We don't
one
need
more.
from the mind. They're so desperate for these like from the mind of directors.
Osgood Perkins. Just
We're not there yet, baby. We are not there
it's all
yet.
good. James Wan's producing it. He made a couple goodies. Maybe we should focus on him, which they do in the trailer. But look,
I thought it was
whatever.
a great trailer, but it's just coming so
Icarus.
quickly.
Thy name is Osgood Perkins.
Coming so quickly off of Longlegs. It feels like we're getting lied to again.
Icarus. I would just be wary.
I
of
love Theo
Perkins.
James though. I love Theo James.
I want everyone to succeed all the time.
Everyone?
Well, except my enemies.
Well, speaking of a real auteur, Joe, a real auteur.
Yeah.
There was some talk this last week about Elaine May, the great Elaine May, Mikey and Nikki, A New Leaf, she Heartbreak, the original Heartbreak Kid. The list
Elaine May.
goes on. Elaine May.
Familiar.
comedy partner of Mike Nichols back in the day. The great Elaine May has had a hand in so many things. Stuff, kind of like, you hear about Robert Towne always like punching up stuff without credit. Elaine May, similar figure. Just an under the surface creative force and an above the surface creative force. But someone who just has had an immeasurable impact on, on new Hollywood, on comedy.
Absolutely.
Her career unfairly came crashing down with Ishtar, the famous flop Ishtar, I believe 1987's Ishtar. We should do Ishtar for Bergman's.
Happily.
It's not on the. We're doing 1980s for Weekend at Bergman's right now. We should do an Ishtar.
Okay.
All right, we'll add an episode. We're going to keep doing this. It's going to go on forever.
Good.
We'll do an Ishtar episode. What would it go against? Let us know in the chat on Patreon. Tell us what Ishtar should go against. But Elaine May has not directed a movie since Ishtar. It's been almost 40 years. And similarly, I mean, it's up there with Heaven's Gate and this and that about it was such a financial failure and at the time a critical failure. And particularly like, Heaven's Gate was in the 70s. Ishtar's in the 80s, where they had like no patience for movies losing money, because at that point all the studios have been bought by conglomerates. There is no patience for like auteurs wasting money, blah blah blah. And so Ishtar like ended her career unfair. And apparently though she has one more movie she wants to direct. It's called Crackpot. She's already got Dakota Johnson and Sebastian Stan, my new favorite actor, signed up for this thing. Guess what's holding this up, Joe? Guess why she can't get this movie made? And it's a standard thing, but it's like, come on.
Financing?
Because of, close. Because of her age, she's 92 years old now. She cannot get the financing for this without an insurance director. So in other words, like, how Paul Thomas Anderson finished Robert Altman's Prairie Home Companion. Robert Altman died while Prairie Home Companion was being made, and PTA was the insurance director, so he came in and finished up Prairie Home Companion. Similarly, they won't finance this movie if Elaine May doesn't have an insurance director, which, like, I get it. She's 92 years old. I understand. But also, like, can somebody fucking be Elaine May's insurance director?
I'm sure.
Paging Greta Gerwig.
I'm sure
do it as a favor.
We just wait, right? They'll get one, right?
We'll see. I mean, like, she's 92. Like, we got to get this fucking movie made.
I know. Also, at 92, is it an insurance director or a director?
If Elaine May says she's got it, she's got it.
All right.
I trust her. I think you trust her, too.
I do.
Right?
I wanted to hear you say it.
It was a test. I trust her.
And you passed.
But I also understand why they need an insurance director. I also don't understand why they can't find a fucking insurance director.
I'm confused. I feel like people would be lining up.
I don't know.
I'm sure, like, I'll do it.
It's
probably shouldn't be me, but if no one else wants to, like, I'm around. I've never directed a movie.
I guarantee it's the same reason. It's the same reason that her whole career ended after Ishtar. Is like, you can if you're we love talking about how demanding of a perfectionist Stanley Kubrick was, but God forbid Elaine May, God forbid a female director be a demanding perfectionist. You get a lifelong reputation that you can never come back from.
I wonder how many times she's tried to mount another production since, the early 90s.
I was shocked to find out that Ishtar was the last movie she's directed. I was sure she had done some
I'm surprised
Coppola low budge, that she had like a Tetro or something.
How about a thing like 4 years later that she just like, oh, let's give Elaine May another crack.
She has not
literally
directed
Elaine
a
May.
movie
That's crazy.
Since Ishtar.
All right. Well, Ishtar was a big flop, I guess. I know. Weird. It
was a flop that because it came in like the Michael Ovitz international conglomerate era of Hollywood, 1980s Hollywood, it was magnified beyond, beyond a flop.
Mm-hmm.
So it's ridiculous. It's a disgrace. Somebody sign up. I'll be the insurance director.
But what about me?
Yeah, Joe and I will be the insurance directors.
Right. Well, fine.
We'll be the insurance co-directors.
I'd be happy to do that.
Come on. Somebody's got to jump into that role.
How hard can it be? Yes, no.
Right.
No. Yes.
Did you guys read the script? It's amazing. I think we just do the script.
Yes.
Yeah, let's just do the script.
Hey, Joe, should we blah, blah, blah? Yes. There you go.
How about we do a shot reverse shot for this dialogue scene? How about we do an establishing shot into a medium shot and then a couple close-ups and call it a day?
You know what's so funny is that is like 45% of movies that we've seen this year at the movie theater. People just fucking shoot coverage. It's endemic.
We could fucking do this.
It's easy.
Yeah. How about AI is the replacement, is the insurance director?
Right.
Why isn't AI? How about AI finally does something good for a change?
Let's do
an AI bot be the insurance director for Elaine May's final movie. Let's get this thing fucking shot, people. The clock is ticking. All right. Next up, We're going to review this week's new releases, Terrifier 3 and The Apprentice. And while we do try to avoid any major plot spoilers in our reviews, it's impossible to give an honest review of these stinking movies without talking about them in their entirety. And so if we're reviewing a movie that you don't want spoiled in the least, not even a little bit,
Not even a smidge.
we recommend that you play it safe and put us on mute and then rejoin us when we move on to the next movie. Just keep an eye on the screen graphics. You'll know what movie we're reviewing. Thank you. And now on with the reviews. Terrifier 3, Joe. Terrifier 3. The third movie in the Terrifier franchise is written, directed, produced, and edited by Damien Leone. This movie takes place 5 years after Terrifier 2 in the days leading up to Christmas. Sienna Shaw, the final girl from Terrifier 2, and her younger brother Jonathan are trying to move on with their lives as they deal with the trauma that they experienced at the hands of demonic serial killer Art the Clown. But wouldn't you know it, even though he got beheaded in Terrifier 2, Art is back, and this time he's joined by the possessed body of Victoria Hayes, the final girl from Terrifier 1. And together, these two maniacs wreak havoc all over town, killing, torturing, blowing up a mall Santa exhibit as they circle in on Sienna and Jonathan. But little do they know that old Terrifier sword is lurking inside a gift wrap present under the Christmas tree, the only thing that can defeat the demonic forces of evil, which makes for a thrilling and bloody climactic finale. Now, unlike the previous two Terrifiers, Leone had enough money on this one to bring in a VFX and makeup team for Terrifier 3, which is crazy. He and like a small crew did all the effects in the first two. But for this one, they brought in some teams. They were able to up the ante on the gore. Leone worked with Christian Tinsley and Tinsley Studios right here in Burbank. Shout out to them. And the godfather of gore himself. I guess that name's already taken. That would be Herschel Gordon Lewis. But the step-godfather of gore, Tom Savini, they worked with his company, Callosum Studios. Savini also gets a cameo in Terrifier 3. The DP was George Stuber, and the cast is headlined by Lauren Lavera as Sienna Shaw, and of course David Howard Thornton as Art the Clown. You also have Elliot Fulham returning as the little brother Jonathan, and Samantha Scafidi as Victoria. And we also have cameos by wrestler Chris Jericho, B-movie icon Clint Howard, Daniel Roebuck from The Late Shift, Jason Patrick from Lost Boys, which we're reviewing in the second half of tonight's show, and of course Tom Savini gets a cameo as well. Terrifier 3 was distributed by Cineverse, and it's making bank at the box office, as we said, off a $2 million production budget. Joe, our resident horror correspondent, what did you think of Terrifier 3?
Brett, I really, really liked Terrifier 3. Terrifier made its bones being the franchise, or at least the movie at first, that had the big showcase kills. That's what this was all about, and it's all about upping those kills, and we can talk about the funniness and the theology and the lore and the art and the PR, but at the end of the day, this franchise's mission statement is we're going to have the craziest, wackiest kills you ever did see, and they're going to shock and delight if you're a freak. And I think we and our compatriots in the movie theater were those freaks because, I don't know about you, Brett, but we all really enjoyed the kills. We
were hooping and hollering at this thing. And also, we should say, we saw this movie together.
We did.
Which is a rare event.
It was.
We saw it together,
but it was
and it
fun.
was the perfect way to see it. It was the perfect way to see it.
It was, because there was one point when we looked over at each other, and it was like it was so disgusting that we just burst into a big laugh together.
We were cracking up.
It was so funny.
I think 3 or 4 times I looked at you, I was just like, holy shit.
There's a couple. So anyway, if the mission is to do the gore thing and do it to the nth degree, well then Damien and the team crushed it, Brett. I loved the effects. The effects, despite all of the violence, are so lovingly made, so beautifully crafted, so funnily implemented, and so painstakingly framed and shot and lit. It's really fun, and the fun they had making it, I'm just assuming, was translated to me, the viewer. It feels like there's a lot of passion behind art and behind these Terrifier films. So I really liked that. Other things I really liked this time, Brett, they got a new lens package.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. What a difference an anamorphic makes. Even just some establishings that look good and not dog shit is huge. I think Leone still has he's not, this ain't the most beautiful looking shots you ever did see. I think it's okay. I think he really struggles actually with framing, sometimes with lighting. I think he struggles with editing. But also all of that's basically washed away or forgiven or justified because the kills are so great. I think Lauren LaVere is a great lead.
Yeah.
If she's like the Nev Campbell of this franchise,
Our new scream
that's
queen.
beautiful.
Yep.
I love her. She's awesome. But let's be honest, Terrifier Nation, Lauren has to do a lot of work on some of these scenes in between the kills, because one of my big gripey poos with the franchise, especially Terrifier 2, which might be, a masterpiece classic. Man, oh man, every time the kill scenes are on, everybody in the movie theater pulls out their phone, gets up to go to the bathroom. Like, you can feel the finality of the gore scene leading into a family-based or lore-based scene. I can give you a spiel about...
And you didn't like that. You didn't like the interplay of that.
I think those scenes are weak. And though I also think there's value in this movie's rhythms and aesthetics being so different than our normal horror fare, I think there's super value there. I think it is part and parcel of why the franchise is distinctive. But Brett, I just don't like it. I'm not saying it's stupid. I'm just saying I would do it differently. I find those scenes to be half-baked. And then last thing is the movie was just a sin, so sins are bad. The movie is just gruesome and violent. And you know what was so funny? I saw this movie twice. The first time I saw it, Brett, the day before I had watched Videodrome. So I
wow, you were
for the first viewing, I was like, all right, what are we doing? This is so grotesque. But then the second time, it was a couple days later. I had a cup of coffee. We went together. I was in a different headspace, and could watch that guy getting cut in half with a chainsaw.
We saw it at lunchtime. We saw it a 1 p.m. matinee. The theater was
I had
packed.
meetings like before it, and then I had meetings like after it. Like, yeah, the theater was bumping. Anyway, I love the movie. I think it's the best of the Terrifier movies because the kills are great, the Christmas elements are distinctive, and it is a little tighter than the overlong Terrifier 2. Anyway, I was a big fan. Brett, I have a rating that I want to give it on our star rating.
Yeah, okay. Let me do my review.
Okay,
and let's hold off because
Okay.
I wonder if I wonder if I'll change your rating at all.
Okay,
because I'm
beautiful.
banking on this rating because I have this on my fantasy team and I'm behind right now, so I need a big freaking good old rating for Terrifier 3.
Love the movie, love the fans, love the fact that it was $2 million, love the new lens package, love Art the Crown. I love the gruesomeness, and I love the kills. And I love that when the shower kill scene when the Terrifier Christmas song starts playing is so funny, and I love that.
They
part.
wrote a new
really
Christmas song for Terrifier 3 that's like commenting on the movie you're watching, but it's so fun. It like survives the meta-ness of it all, and it's just fun. It's just fucking fun.
Anyway,
all right, I have many agreements with you about Terrifier 3 and a few disagreements. The gore, same. I freaking love the gore. It's old school Tom Savini blood and guts, dismembered limbs, just devastating head trauma.
Love,
It is. It's also the kind of gore that I love because it's cinematic. It's not obsessed with realism, and I don't mean that it's not realistic. It's more in the style of like Giallo or Grand Guignol or like, you know, it's about the theater of it. So it's not about realism. It's about theater. And it's like art is like putting on a show for you every time he does a kill. He's like putting on a little play or a little theater piece for you. He's doing it for your entertainment. And that's why nobody dies quickly in this movie. Art loves to take his time. He loves to do all his little torture stuff, and he loves to perform for the audience. These are performance pieces that Art is putting on for you. But you also don't get like long, unrelenting stretches of gore, like say like the last 30 minutes of Evil Dead or something where it's just like you're swimming in blood and guts for 30 minutes. I have to imagine that's partly because of the small budget. But the gore is done in these little set pieces. And it's so gruesome and so horrifying and funny and entrancing. It's funny because I would occasionally like get the hand up here in anticipation when the gore was about to happen, but then as soon as we're in it, I am like, I cannot take my eyes away from the screen. There's something sort of gorgeous about the effects.
Yeah, you want to watch them pull off the effect.
You lean towards the screen.
Yeah,
it's kind of remarkable how they accomplish that.
Yes, exactly.
And then the in-between scenes, though, this is where it gets interesting for me, and I understand your sort of light criticism of them, because in between the kills, the movie does a mix of like comedy, drama, character development, and it's like, look, it is like Hallmark movie quality in from the performances to the dialogue to the feel of it. It feels like a Hallmark movie, but the reason I like that is because the combination of those two elements, the kills with these like Hallmark movie sort of almost interstitials, is that the gore, you don't forget about the gore. The gore remains like the context, the underpinning of those scenes. The gore is like the medium of the movie, the language of the movie. It's what greases the wheels and makes everything else work. And so the comedy and the drama those scenes definitely wouldn't work in isolation. If you just did a super cut of all the like non-gory scenes in Terrifier 3, you'd be like, what the fuck? This movie's trash. But
that'd be the funniest fan edit.
Yeah, it'd be like,
it's like
take
when
out
they take
all
Jar
the
Jar
gore.
Binks out of Phantom Menace. We just take all the gore out of the Terrifiers.
But when it's placed in the context of the gore and on those two elements come together, it is so surreal and uncanny. The effect of those two elements working together, it really like harkens back to the way B horror movies felt in the 80s, where like it would be these kills and then these scenes that look like they're out of like a they're out of like a TV movie or a porno or something. They're stilted and they're kind of like a little awkward and they're not filmed as elegantly as they might be able to. But that is like the rich, strange, bizarre appeal of those kind of movies. And we don't get anything like that anymore because everything goes through 100 round of notes and 100 round of this. And it's at even if it's bad, it's hyper competent. You know, we don't get movies like this anymore. And I love the surrealness and the uncanniness when those two elements kind of meet together. And I agree that Terrifier 3 is the best installment in the franchise because making it a Christmas movie only heightens that contrast between those elements, heightens the gore, heightens the comedy, heightens the shock value, and it heightens the like bizarreness of basically taking a Hallmark Christmas movie and then putting 6 of the goriest kill scenes you've ever seen, like interspersed throughout a Hallmark Christmas movie, is a absolutely stunning, surreal kind of combination of elements. And I know a horror Christmas movie as a conceit is not new. Of course, we have the Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise. You have the original slasher Black Christmas, an absolute masterpiece. But again, the low budgetness of Terrifier 3 really brings out the appeal of Christmas horror by so closely mimicking the textures and rhythms of a Hallmark Christmas movie. I mean, if you like, it's like, you can't overstate it. Like if you replaced the chainsaws and axes in Terrifier 3 with gingerbread spice lattes and comfy sweaters, you could call this movie Home for the Holidays and release it on Hallmark tomorrow if it didn't have the kills in it. It really has that texture in between the kills. And I just think that again, that contrast gets at something really elemental in our psychology. It turns something familiar into something sort of horrifying and grotesque, and it's just such a fun interplay of elements. They really make a meal out of the Christmas stuff. It's so amazing, and god damn it, you said it, Art is just such a winner of a character. They have really built him into such a horror icon. He's so funny. He's an unkillable demon, but he also has to ride the bus. He commits the most violent acts on the human body imaginable, but then also stoops to like slapstick for his own amusement. It's like he is such a unique and fun twist on like the scary clown, and I just love the character so much. One kill that I want to describe because it's so great and it kind of sums up for the movie for me is at the end of the movie. And again, if you don't want it spoiled, skip over this, put us on mute. The kill scene in the living room with all the Christmas elements all sprayed out. They're in like a suburban living room. Art and his associate have already beheaded and disemboweled the husband, and they've crucified him on the wall. So his disemboweled body is just crucified on the wall of the living room. Then Sienna and her aunt are both tied up in the living room, and now Art's going to take his time with Sienna and the aunt. The aunt's death is... I actually won't describe the aunt's death.
I'm actually... I was going to... In my head, I was like, I don't know.
I won't describe...
Some people just don't like these kinds of
I
movies.
will not describe the aunt's death,
it's
okay? Because it's gruesome and grotesque.
It's actually... it's just... It actually
but
made me laugh.
while this disgusting torture death thing is happening, that is straight out of like the Spanish Inquisition. This one, they go medieval on the aunt.
Yeah.
They go full medieval on the aunt. Art is like simultaneously like pulling the intestines out of the husband's disemboweled body and then putting them on the tree, like ornamenting the tree with the intestines.
Love
And
it.
every time he walks past Sienna, he like bops her on the head with the intestines, and they have this funny like bopped on the head sound effect. And I was like, oh my God, this is like, if you like this, you like Terrifier 3. This is like the most Terrifier 3 scene ever, where you have like slapstick comedy with like a Christmas movie with grotesque kills, and it's like funny and it's terrifying. It's everything all at once. And like Art is like having like fun. He's like having fun with it. He's enjoying, and he wants you to have like fun with it too. But you're also like, don't make me complicit in this. I don't want to be complicit in this grotesquerie, but you also kind of do because it's so much fun and it's crazy. It is like all of those elements together made me just like absolutely love this movie. And I think it's the best of the franchise. Our ratings, Joe. You go first. This is out of 5 stars.
Out of 5 stars. I think there was a moment that really sold me on it. This is a spoiler for a button of a great gag and a great bit. It's just in the Christmas mall when the kid opens the box and Art like blows up the mall.
All these kids are waiting in line for the mall Santa. The mall Santa goes on break. Art sneaks in and it starts handing them out presents. And one of the presents has a bomb in it, and all the children blow up.
Man, that was so fucking funny, and just so that was just like, it made me happy because it was a different kind of kill where it's not gonna like peel the kid's skin off like all the other kills. There was just something just so funny about it. I thought it was great. I love the spirit.
It was almost like demure for a Terrifier.
It was.
It's like they pull back to a wide shot to show the explosion.
Just like terrorism.
Yes,
It was
yeah.
just like a little like nice light terrorism.
It was a fun little
was
demure
funny.
effect for the Terrifier franchise.
Loved that moment. I think you're right. The sort of like Ed Wood textures, like sometimes I'm like,
Yes.
Damien, fucking roll again, like or like
I love it
re-edit it.
though. I love it. It's like its flaws become its strengths.
Right. It's like it has this. This sounds like I'm negging you. I'm not. It has this like nostalgic quotient that's interesting, where it reminds you of like the glory days of grindhouse cinema in its like, inelegance, and I think that does ultimately contribute to the success of the franchise. I just don't know if I love it.
Yeah.
But man, oh man, this movie's so great. I'm not trying to undersell it. I give this.
The
movie,
reason I love it is
mhm.
because because maybe what I'm about to say will just bump it up half a star.
Yeah,
Right,
okay, go ahead.
Because there is such a fetishism for the 80s. You know, you think of Stranger Things, etc. But everyone always interprets that in the most surface of aesthetics. It's like, you're not doing the 80s. You're just doing the surface. You're just like recycling the surface aesthetics of the 80s and the sort of like memes and like the cultural sort of stuff of the 80s. But like, you're not getting at that central weird uncanny essence that makes sort of 80s and I would say 70s horror, you know, B movies, grindhouse movies, exploitation movies unique, which was this sort of like something that was simultaneously like cheap and rare. It was like a cheap experience, but like a rare experience for, you know, because of its bizarreness and its uniqueness. And I will say Terrifier is one of the only things out there that is able to like recapture that. And because you can't be hyper competent. You can't be the fucking Duffer Brothers or whatever, you know, you can't be like Lord and Miller. You can't have that level of sort of like, you know, hyper competency. You have to be a little indie scallywag
Definitely.
who doesn't have enough money.
I agree.
And it fucking works.
I agree. I think this movie is great. I'm giving it a big 4 stars.
Nice. 4 stars. Okay,
Big
good. I'll
4
take 4.
stars.
I'll take 4. I'll take 4.
I think this movie is great.
Joe, this movie to me, when I was trying to think of the rating, I was like, I loved it so much. I had so much fun. How do I rate this movie? And it's almost like objectively easy for me to rate this movie, because this movie for me is if like I saw Damien Leone at like a bar and he's like, hey, do you want to play darts? I was like, sure. And he's like, okay, let's just do a simple game of darts. The goal is to just hit the bullseye. First one to hit the bullseye wins. I go, okay. And then Damien Leone turns around and just hits the bullseye with his first shot. And not even like bleeding off the edge, like right in the bullseye. Just hits the bullseye with his first dart. Mm-hmm. And he wins. To me, that's what this movie is. In its way, it hit the exact center of the bullseye of what it was trying to do, what it needed to do, what it wanted to do, the effect of it, everything just hits the bullseye. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea.
No.
You can't compare it to some art house masterpiece, but judged on its own merits, what it's trying to do, it hit the fucking bullseye right in the center. I'm giving it 5 stars, baby.
Wow, a big 9. For
A big 9.
Terrifier
Okay.
3.
So
you needed a
I
big.
needed a
You
big
needed
9.
this to turn
I was
out.
hoping for a 9.5.
So, folks, you're probably wondering you might be wondering what are
Yes.
we talking
Yeah,
about?
please.
At the beginning of the year, Brett and I did a fantasy movie draft. We each drafted 5 movies coming out in 2024, and then we honestly rate them. We each, out of 5 stars, we add up our 2 scores. Whoever has the most points at the end of the year wins the fantasy movie draft. Brett, where do we stand
All
now
right,
that Terrifier
so right now,
3 has entered the
Terrifier
the
3 came in
chat?
with a strong 9, which makes it our 3rd highest rated movie on this list after Janet Planet and Monkey Man. So right now I am at, if we can see this, you are at, and we only have 1 movie left. Each have 1 movie left.
All right, so we each have 4 movies. So far, Brett has a total of 29.5 points, but it still is a little shy of my 32 points. We have 2 more movies each. Brett, you have to finish the year strong with Gladiator 2, but don't you fret, Joe, because I have Conclave on my list. Now that's exciting, Brett.
So I got to make up. That's a really
There's a
good
2.5
showdown.
point differential.
I got to make up
2.5
2.5
points.
points. I don't know if I can do it.
Now, but Brett,
I don't know if I can do it.
we have a friend named Gabriel who got to see an early screening of Gladiator 2.
Saw Gladiator 2.
He fucking loved it.
I know it's going to be good, but I think Conclave's going to be good too.
That's
I just
true.
don't know if I can make up the difference.
Now
we also said
Okay.
that we are going to, Pitchfork does this. Why don't we do it ourselves here on Movies Baby? We're going to rewatch and re-rate 2 movies on this list.
Yeah.
Both of which have suspiciously low scores based on their sort of critical reception.
Resubmitting them to the.
We're resubmitting them to the process.
Yeah.
So we are going to rewatch and re-rate I Saw the TV Glow and Civil War, both of which I Saw the TV Glow is 6.5, Civil War at 6. So that might change things, or who knows? Maybe they'll just each bump up relative to each other, and it won't make a difference.
But yeah, before the end of the year, maybe before we see Conclave,
we have to. Gladiator 2 Conclave has to be
we got
the
to
end
come
of it.
back with.
So we got to do this
All right.
this week. We
Okay,
got to
fine.
re-rate these.
Good.
Okay, all right. So we'll do that. But right now, I got some ground to make up. But I got a real good one in store
Huge,
for
man.
Gladiator 2.
You
The Ringer,
needed
my
a
Ringer.
top 3 movie of the year.
My
And you
Ringer.
got one. So I mean, according to this game.
All right, let's
Okay.
talk about The Apprentice.
Yeah, let's talk about The Apprentice.
The Apprentice, written by journalist Gabriel Sherman, who wrote the Roger Ailes biography, The Loudest Voice in the Room.
Which is a great book.
Great book.
And he wrote the show as well.
Thank you.
Which isn't as good.
And it's directed by Ali Abbasi, who made Holy Spider, which came out last year, which is supposed to be very good. I have not seen it yet, but I've heard very good things about Holy Spider. The Apprentice tells the story of a young Donald Trump as he tries to surpass the achievements of his real estate developer slumlord father and establish a name for himself in the resurgent real estate market of 1980s New York City. And the way he does this is by coming under the spell and tutelage of the Prince of Darkness himself, Roy Cohn, the notoriously bare-knuckled lawyer who got the Rosenbergs executed and was chief counsel for Joseph McCarthy during the McCarthy hearings. He worked on the Reagan campaign. He mentored Roger Stone. He's basically the archdemon that gave birth to all the little demons that have done their best to turn America into a late-stage capitalist hellscape for the last 75 years. But by the end of The Apprentice, Joe, the student becomes the master as Trump becomes Trump, and Roy Cohn, who is dying of AIDS, even though he won't admit it, is left to ponder the hellish futility and loneliness of his existence. The director of photography on The Apprentice is Casper Tuxen, who most recently worked on the amazing movie The Worst Person in the World. This guy's an up-and-comer, baby. Casper Tuxen, cinematography on point.
And he did Beginners.
On point. And did Beginners, thank you. He did Beginners.
Christopher Plummer's only Oscar.
Also by a director you loathe, Mike Mills.
Yeah.
I thought Beginners was pretty good, though. The Apprentice, which we're talking about right now, stars Sebastian Stan as Trump. Jeremy Strong as Roy Cohn. Maria Bakalova from Borat 2 and Bodies, Bodies, Bodies as Ivana Trump. And the great Martin Donovan as Fred Trump. I wouldn't know it was Martin Donovan if I hadn't seen his name in the credits. He disappears into Fred Trump, Joe.
He does.
He disappears into that just like, oh, that flesh and that beard. Oh, that disgusting Fred Trump face. He really disappears into it. This movie has a lot of production company credits. I won't list them all because of all the twists and turns it took as it tried to get to theaters. But Briarcliff Entertainment ended up handling U.S. distribution. Joe, what'd you think of The Apprentice?
I really liked both of the main performances a lot. I think Jeremy Strong was great as Roy Cohn. Apparently, that's exactly what Roy Cohn was like in every way. Of course it was, because that's Jeremy Strong. But Brett, I know you agree because you said this earlier, so I'm stealing something you probably want to say. So let's just take a second to say it. Sebastian Stan is amazing in this movie.
So good. So good.
He is tremendous in this movie. He plays Donald Trump, which is like a job, I don't know, maybe everybody wants it, but it seems like it's just like a loser's game. You know, Gleason did it and everyone's like kind of had their Trump thing and it's fine. It's just like, it's like a overdone impression almost like what's there left to mine or plum from a Trump impression.
I thought
there's
as
actually
well.
tons. Well, first of all,
thought.
I like one of the things I like about this movie is the period of time in Trump's life that it looks at. Early Trump in the 80s, coming up in New York. And I actually, you know, we don't really focus a ton of our energies on that period of time in Trump's life when we talk about him these days. So I liked going back there and learning about it, and watching Stan's character arc and character develop was really good. And the humanity that he brings to Trump and sort of watching him go to the dark side. It's all very nuanced and excellent. And I just thought that he really stole the show on this one, Brett. Number two, I really liked Tuxin's camera work.
Oh, yeah.
Energetic, beautiful, you know, puts you right in the time and space. Very fun and not overbearing, and great colors, and just gave you a great old New York texture. I really liked the camera work in it. I think that Sherman's script hurts the movie a little bit. Specifically, I think that the second act becomes a little bit more greatest hits montage movie of the week. Trump, here's the things we remember from Trump at this period of time in his life. Unlike the first half of the film, which is borderline perfect in setting up the Cohn-Trump like dichotomy, relationship, evolution, and watching young Trump become middle-aged Trump. So I loved the first half. The second half was a little movie of the week. I blame Sherman. I think it got a little slower paced. And I think that in the second half, it sort of revealed that the movie was very interested in the fact that Trump is just like Roy Cohn and learned a lot from Roy Cohn, but the movie didn't have some like incredible connective oomph or tissue that made me feel like I learned anything new about Trump or about America or about Roy Cohn. I felt like I just watched like another really like one of the best. Sounds like an egg. You know, HBO political movies. That was the second half, though. I gotta tell you, this first half was fucking cinema, and it was acting, and it was scenes, and it looked great, and I fucking loved it. I just felt like it lost some steam, but good movie. I will be certainly having Sebastian Stan in my Best Actor nominees this year. I mean, I can't imagine not including him. I just thought he was so wonderful. Really fun movie. Definitely like a good business yarn, a good politics yarn. You get to see your favorite characters. Oh, there's Roger Stone, you know, and I did
Roger
like that.
Stone
I did like that.
Young Roger Stone apparently
Stone
was just this like gleeful sociopath. Hey, can I get you anything, sir? What are we doing today? Whose lives are we ruining?
Riddler.
Yeah, amazing.
Anyway, so I like the movie, but I can see why it's not, you know, being picked up as some awards juggernaut, so to speak. I think it's very good.
I think you make some great points, Joe. I really like The Apprentice as well. It does 1970s into 1980s New York so well, because of course we've seen, you know, we all have a vision of 1970s New York, Taxi Driver New York, and it does that version of New York really well. But then you also have all the like secret enclaves of the rich that it dips into, these darkly lit private clubs, and there's this real like Dante's Inferno feel as young Trump enters this world and comes under the spell of Roy Cohn. I mean, that first shot where he turns and Roy Cohn's just staring at him from across the club is so just demonic and fantastic.
For the first half of this movie, I was like,
it's
what do we have
really
here?
good.
This is good.
And then as the movie develops, you start to get the excesses of 1980s New York that come in, and I think it just cleverly switches between these textures really well. And just the look of the movie is so exciting and dynamic. I agree, the cinematography is fantastic. I thought the editing was really good. There's some sequences that almost have the texture of like VHS, you know, almost there's like it's playing around with the look and feel in a really exciting way. And this all creates the perfect stage for the star of the movie, as you pointed out, which is the performances of the leads. I agree with everything you said. Strong is definitely the scene stealer and will probably get, I would assume, gets a little more awards consideration, just based on what awards are looking for in his presentation of Roy Cohn. And look, Strong is great. He doesn't just give like the
awesome.
Dark Lord phase of Roy Cohn's life, but we get the end of Roy Cohn's life, the sort of Angels in America phase, the sort of just sort of sad coda where he's dying of AIDS but still won't admit that he's gay or has AIDS.
It did make me want to see Jeremy Strong do Angels in America really bad.
That shot, Joe, at the end of him, because we've already, I thought they also did a good job of distinguishing it from Angels in America, because Angels in America, he's mostly in the hospital bed, right? Yeah. And then here we get that scene, one of my favorite scenes, and it was, I agree with you about like the first half is the strongest part of the movie. Second half does become a little sort of montagey and sort of Trump's life and rise to fame and everything. But I thought it righted the ship at the very end when Roy Cohn re-enters the movie, because that scene where Roy Cohn goes down to Mar-a-Lago and they're celebrating his birthday and he's just like clearly dying but won't admit it, and then they wheel out that American flag cake and he's just standing over the American flag cake staring down at it, and it doesn't like, I don't think he's capable of like guilt or compunction or even like regret necessarily, you know, based on his rules and his like in his mindset. But he does certainly sense the emptiness of his life in that moment and the futility of his life and just the nearing end of his meaningless, terrible life. And he seems to sort of sense all of that in that moment where he's looking down at that kitschy, terrible Mar-a-Lago American flag cake. I really like that scene, that shot. And it shows that this performance that Strong gives is not just a caricature of Roy Cohn, but does find like a human being or like a sort of wrecked semblance of a human being to sort of play inside Roy Cohn. So Strong is incredible, but the real star of the movie is Sebastian Stan as Trump. You're absolutely right. Like, and specifically for the nuance that Stan brings to the role. Like you said, we live in just a sea of Donald Trump impressions. We know all the tics, all the mannerisms, all the figures of speech. And so at the beginning of this movie, Stan is kind of like barely recognizable as Trump because he's giving us so little of the things that we associate with Trump. The mannerisms aren't really there yet. He's kind of weak and aimless and indecisive as he sort of just like fumbles through, you know, he's going door to door collecting rent at one of Fred Trump's fucking slum apartments that is underfunded and is terrible. And, you know, it's just, he just seems like, you know, the rich kid's fail son at the very beginning. But what is there from the very beginning is that sort of like the dark vapors of Trump's soul out of which Trump will, the cauldron out of which Trump will emerge. All of that is there. The deep-seated selfishness, the pathological lack of empathy, the desire for power and money at all costs. The cauldron of vapors is there, and then you get to watch Stan over the course of the movie masterfully start to piece together what we think of as Trump, almost like one sort of little nuance at a time. You see Trump like emerge through the movie, and it's kind of a lost art in filmmaking, watching a character literally change from start to finish. Not like encounter events and have to deal with them, but like the person themselves like change over the course of the movie, and in this case change for the worse and become the Trump that we recognize as Trump. Stan is like, and I don't know if they shot that, I can't imagine with all the production difficulties that they shot this in continuity. Like, no. So, but like Trump, Stan is just so focused. Stan is so focused and killer at like nailing the evolution, nailing the nuance of the evolution. And even when he becomes Trump, it is still a like real, like a Trump that is rooted in realism and experience and not the caricature that we see of Trump. And it only makes the horror of Trump the monster all the more horrifying when he feels realistic, when he feels like when you realize like, oh, a person can become Trump, like people, because you always think of him now as this singularity, this just like, if we just get rid of Trump, we'll be fine because there's no one like Trump. But it's like, anybody could become Trump under the right circumstances. That's kind of what this movie tells you. Under the right tutelage, under the right sort of like coincidences, under the right sort of like sequence of corrupt acts, anyone can become Trump. And the way Stan does that is phenomenal, is amazing. He returns Trump to the realm of humanity without humanizing him in a way. And it's phenomenal work. I think it's my favorite performance of the year. I'd have to go back and look, but it's up there. It's awesome. Tied for number one at the very least. Man, oh man, Stan is a phenomenal talent. This has been an amazing year for him between The Apprentice and A Different Man. And I was thinking, Joe, I don't know, with Adam Driver on his fun, weird little odyssey through Ferrari and Megalopolis, with Joaquin racking up the bad decisions between Joker 2 and abandoning the Todd Haynes movie. You see where I'm going?
I do.
With Leonardo DiCaprio hiding out in Europe until the P. Diddy stuff blows over. There is room at the top right now, Joe. There is room for a new A-list megastar. Sebastian Stan, this is your moment, baby. This is your moment. You got the chops.
He's in that new Ron Howard movie with Anna de Armas and Sydney Sweeney.
Freaking Ron Howard. That's what he needs, is a freaking Ron Howard. Just
Eden.
Just some disgusting, just like blatant awards season stuff. That's what Stan needs. I think Stan's got the juice.
I love that.
I think he's got the real juice.
I really didn't know until today that he's
got the fucking juice.
I mean, obviously, like, it's always one of these things. Oh, how'd that guy get in the Marvel movie? Oh, because he's the most talented actor in the world. You just like don't get to see it because he's stuck in the Marvel movie. Like back when Matthew McConaughey, you remember the McConaissance? Like before then, everyone was like, this guy can act. He was just in rom-coms. It's like you get to be in the shittiest rom-com of all time because you're like the greatest actor ever.
Yeah.
Stan with is just hiding.
Dude,
just dormant.
He's got it.
Now he's ready.
He's got it. So overall, The Apprentice is I would say, a really good movie that you should see ASAP because of the lead performances and because of the cinematography, the editing.
Yeah, I liked it.
And because of what it says about America. It's a message that's familiar, but you can never hear it enough because it's so damning as to disqualify us from being a country. And it's presented here with some extra hellishness. The fact that somehow, in a democratic society in which the laws and regulations and the balances of power are supposed to curb corruption and the evil fuckery of like old European monarchies, somehow still, even in a country that is voted on by the people, somehow the most deeply evil and corrupt people still become successful, and not like secret cabal successful, although of course those people exist too. They exist in this movie, but like mainstream successful, like fucking celebrities, like out and about successful, not even trying to hide who they are. And there's no greater example of that paradox of a self-determined society that elevates figures who are fundamentally opposed to the tenets of that society. There's no greater example than Trump, and The Apprentice shows just how fundamentally Trump is opposed to the concept of a society, the social contract, shared responsibilities and shared benefits, the most amount of good for the most amount of people, high taxes at the top, social safety net at the bottom, all the simple, just simple concepts of a society Trump is opposed to. He hates the very nature of a society because this man only exists for himself. He can't even fucking let his brother spend the night at his house when his brother is like, no one has ever looked more suicidal than Trump's brother coming up in that penthouse in that scene. And he's like, I can get you a room at one of our hotels. This guy only exists for himself, as opposed to any sort of friendship, relationship, marriage, partnership, anything like that. And we put this guy in charge of a society, our society. And we might do it again this November. The Apprentice is such a good reminder of the absurdity of that paradox. And I would recommend that everyone go see it. Let's get some more fucking money in these Apprentice coffers. That box office was too light.
Check it out.
Well, that wraps up another episode of Movies, Baby. But don't go anywhere, because in a mere 10 minutes, we're going to be back with a new episode of Weekend at Bergman's, but only for the Patreon. Tonight, our 1980s series marches on with Near Dark, versus The Lost Boys, two 1987 vampire movies. Only one can win and advance in the 1980s bracket to determine the best movie of the 1980s. So you'll have to sign up for the Patreon to join us there at patreon.com/moviesbaby with 5 Ys. Please sign up and support the show. You can sign up for a 7-day free trial to see if you like what's going on over there. You can sign up just for free, period, and get updates about what we're doing. Either way, there's no excuse to not sign up for free. There's no excuse for that. At least sign up for free.
Free
Ideally,
is no dollars.
Ideally, sign up for a free trial and then forget that you did that. So
Yeah,
that we
I'm
can
just saying.
charge your credit card.
I'm just agreeing with you that free is a low amount of money to pay.
We are working so hard on this damn show.
$0.
We've got so much good stuff coming. This is just the beginning. We've been talking about
Wait till you
2025.
hear me
We're gonna
talk
blow your
about Near
freaking
Dark.
minds. And speaking of, we got some great thoughts on Lost Boys and Near Dark.
Wait till you hear me talk about
We're gonna
Lost
duke it out. It's
Boys.
gonna be a bloodbath. Who's gonna win? We'll see. And then next week on Movies Baby. Oh boy, Joe, this is a big one. We've been waiting.
What's coming out?
Waiting. The big one. The movie of the year. Anora. Sean Baker's Anora comes out this weekend in theaters. You got to go see this shit. It's going to be amazing.
I can't wait, man. Won the Palme
And
d'Or.
look, I'm not going to pretend I don't think it's going to be amazing without seeing it. I know it's going to be amazing. It won the freaking Palme d'Or. It's the frontrunner from the Oscar, and it's a Sean Baker movie. Come on.
He hasn't made a bad movie yet.
He's made some of my favorite movies in the last 10 years.
Be surprising if it was bad.
Tangerine, The Florida Project, Red Rocket. You're telling me Anora's not good? His most
Palme
lauded
d'Or winner?
movie yet?
Yeah, but
And we also got Smile 2. I'm excited for Smile 2. It'll be a nice little digestif, a little horror digestif.
I'm
after
interested to
Anora.
see. Smile 1 made $1 billion. Like,
Yeah.
is that? But like, will Smile 2? I really can't
People
get
are
a
saying
read.
Smile 2 is better. The reviews are saying it's better. It's doing like a
Will it make
trap
more
thing
money?
about about like a sort of pop star,
Yes,
a little
I
Charlie XCX-esque
noticed.
pop star. And then next week on Weekend at Bergman's, this is a big one. We got Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer versus Child's Play.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So an art house serial killer versus a popcorn serial killer. Can't wait for that. That's next week.
That's going to be great.
So again, please sign up for the Patreon. Please follow us on all the socials, TikTok, Instagram, etc. Subscribe to our YouTube. That's where we put up a lot of fun clips and lists and videos and things. And I think that just about wraps it up, Joe.
That's it. That's
all
it.
right. Well, let's
That's
get
it.
into our costumes, and we'll see you in 10 minutes for Weekend at Bergman's.
Bye.
Bye. You were Art the Clown the whole time.